This segment has been sponsored by the Ubuntu Room. Come join Dana Sardano as she offers life-changing advice that will affect the spiritual, emotional, and physical aspects of your being. Within her easily available writings, you will find the solution you need for your problems. Tune in to the Ubuntu Room on the Brooklyn Cafe Show.
Hi, my name is Dana Sardano, and this is the Ubuntu Room. I am so glad you're here. Thank you for joining me. So, for those of you who are new to who I am and what I do, everything I talk about is personal empowerment and spiritual development. And as Dawn had said, over the last several weeks, we really centered it around the personal empowerment. But it's important to create that foundation in order to expand that awareness. So yeah, we had to look at things we don't want to look at. We had to dive into things and do work that we didn't want to do. But when we do that, we create a sense of sovereignty, a sense of empowerment, and our gifts begin to expand. And when that happens, then the mystical, the magical, the woo, all that stuff begins to take place. And that's what we're going to be talking about moving forward. Just a little spoiler alert, starting July 1st, we are going to focus on Decoding the Woo-Woo, which is the follow-up to 10 Recommendments for Personal Empowerment, and really, really look into some of the fun stuff. But before we start, I want to have a little conversation with Anne-Marie Scorti today. Anne-Marie is a very, very close friend of mine, and she does she's got some pretty incredible gifts, and I've seen her gifts expand in the time that I know her. But before I formally introduce her, before we have a conversation, I have to touch on the movie Disclosure Day for a second. I watched from my home or from my rented home while I get my floors done, but I watched the show on Monday, the midday show, and I watched Dawn, Freddie, Sally, and Steve talking about their feelings about Disclosure Day. And then I watched Sally dig a little bit deeper on her show, Call Me Zena. And I've watched plenty of reviews about the movie. I saw the movie myself, and a lot of people have different opinions. But there's one thing that I saw in the movie that I want to touch on today, and it's a really good segue to the conversation that I want to have with Anne-Marie. And I'm not going to give anything away. I'm basically going to mention some of the obvious that happened in the movie. So Emily Blunt's character, she's a total normie. She was like a weather girl, and she had become activated from a bird came to see her. We'll just leave it at that. And she became activated. And that activation woke up, I'm going to say some sort of dormant DNA, and I'm sure I'll get more intel when I have a conversation with Anne-Marie, but woke something up, and all of a sudden she was able to channel different languages and even aliens and even be able to communicate telepathically and see into people's souls, if you will. Now, in the movie, they kind of paint it that she's one of two chosen people who could do this. But I'm not saying that there weren't pearls of fact in that work of fiction, but what I have seen in my experience with my friends and my own experience, this isn't just one or two people. There are many, millions, I would venture to say, people who not only have these abilities and not only have been activated in the last 5 to 10 years, but more that are becoming activated and more activations to come. And Emily Blunt's character was so carefree and cool. She kind of went with it. She thought it was crazy and weird, but she went along her storyline and she did these things. And Rob, and my husband, my schmoopy, we were like, oh my God, that's Anne-Marie. Oh my God, that's Anne-Marie. It was really like watching what I have seen with Anne-Marie in Anne-Marie's early years. Anne-Marie was well into being a trans channel when we met, but in our relationship and our friendship as it grew, I watched her gifts expand. I've watched Anne-Marie channel angels, archangels. I've watched her channel temperance. I've watched her channel the moon. I have watched her channel my spirit guides. I have watched her channel my Pekingese Tallulah from the grave. I have watched her channel all of these energies and consciousnesses that she is able, through her gift, to give a voice to. And this is a little tiny piece of what we saw in that movie. So I'm hoping that movie creates conversation for those that are becoming activated, that have these gifts, that think they're crazy, that don't want to talk about. There are many of you out there like that, and I'm sitting next to one of them. So, Anne-Marie, I know that was a long intro, but I really want to connect it for people because what you do is so incredible, and again, I've watched it expand, and you're like a real, like, normal person. You know what I mean? So, what was that activation like for you, and how did you cope in bringing it to the public?
So to go back to when I first realized I was clairaudient.
Which means what?
I can hear a voice. So, or voices in my head. And it's telepathic. It's telepathic communication is what it is. And when that happened during meditation. So my first experience was through meditation, and that activated that ability for me, so that I am aware of. So then fast forward, and to bring up Dawn, I mean before that, but when that happened, prior to that happening, I got vertigo so bad I had to go to the hospital. I thought I was having a stroke. So that was me having my experience, like what we were just talking about with you, with she's been activated and you've got all these crazy energies coming in. I literally went to the hospital with mine, so yours is really good. So that's how it started for me. And then fast forward.
Can you tell people what activation means? Because people listen, like they saw the show that we did, and they think, oh, Dawn's like crazy. Like, what does that mean? They've activated her to do what?
Yeah, and this is where I was hoping to go with the conversation, because I know the they.
Or like, what does activation mean?
So I'm going to channel the answer because they're taking over anyway, because they wanted to have this discussion because of the need for it at this time. So Anne-Marie, is capable as our channel to transmit activation energies. And what this means is that we transmit through her, depending on the individual and how they need to be worked with, energies which activate dormant DNA and cellular memories, which then converge into an active opening of their channel and abilities to have their quote unquote metaphysical, spiritual, psychic abilities accelerate. So this is what we mean by activation. And we are able, through her channel, to use her hands and her vocal cords to open, to reconfigure the existing DNA in a human being so that it comes into a state of sequencing which allows them to become that part of themselves that has been yet undiscoverable, or accelerate what has already been discovered. Does this make sense?
Yes. Yeah. Absolutely. Are there a lot more people becoming activated at this time? And what type of things are, other than Anne-Marie, what type of things are activating people's dormant DNA at this time?
There are frequencies embedded in multiple areas, in movies, in books, in songs, in signage, in nature. There are an unlimited amount of embedded beings who have the ability to connect with that DNA structure and cause this activation to occur. Does that make sense?
When you say the beings, you talk about the beings who have the dormant DNA, or other beings?
Other beings, not the human being, but other beings. For example, like in the movie, your friend had a cardinal, you say.
Yeah.
That, not your friend, but the girl.
We're tight, me and Emily Blunt.
In the movie, she was activated by an animal.
Yes.
It is absolutely 100% accurate that this is a possibility and indeed does happen. There are animal communicators that will be activated by an animal. You must understand that we have amazing, we shall say, capabilities just as Anne-Marie allows us to use her channel, also we use other willing participants. We always use a willing participant. We would like to make that perfectly clear. That is our way. We will never, ever overstep that boundary of human will, and we respect the human being on a level that we wish to express to those who are perhaps thinking there is something sinister about what is happening here. Not here, never here. It is sanctioned. It is always sanctioned. We never overstep.
Yeah, we understand that. I understand a lot of people carry fear, and I feel like, and again, I just want to circle back to the movie again. I feel like it is giving, that movie has created an opportunity for people to have more conversation about these things. But I feel it's a very narrow focus. It's very specific, and I think the abilities are far more reaching than what that movie had shown. But I think it's nice for another conversation. Would you call that? Was there anything in that movie that was a deliberate activation? Or was there an agenda in that movie that we don't understand?
It is an awakening.
Yeah.
It is an awakening for all of you who engage with it that have had the thought, or there are some who have not had the thought. And it just penetrates once again to that cellular memory of that understanding. Does this make sense?
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, and that's really, well, you know what? Unless, if nobody else has any kind of question, does anybody have any questions about this?
I do, but I didn't want to interrupt.
No,
do. So when people get activated, say Emily Blunt or me or all the other people out there watching, what that means. Ultimately, what does it mean? Is it for the greater good of mankind? I would think if you're gifted this gift, it has to be for the betterment of mankind. It's not something that you would hold just for yourself and your own needs.
That is not correct. You must understand that this belongs to you. You own it. It is yours. And you have a right to use it any way you wish. As we said, we do not force our agenda. It is a choice. You have free will as a human being. We never, ever will force anyone to do anything, ever. Does this make sense? It is a choice. It is a choice. It is for you and you first and foremost. You are led to that self-understanding, and then it is the self-acceptance and the embracing of whatever it may be. But it belongs to you and you alone. Honor your abilities in whatever form that takes. You may not be completely cognizant of the depth of your abilities. However, you are creative in some way. The being that you are has some type of creativity within it. The joy of life, the joy that you connect with is the essential cornerstone of all. Does this make sense?
Interesting.
Yeah. I remember years ago, the message was that I received. First for you, these gifts are yours, and then if you choose to bring them outwardly, then you bring them outwardly. And and I had to bring myself back to that, because we all want to go out and we want to change the world. Mm-hmm. But that's why my focus with what I do is everything is about the self. Because first and foremost, it is about you and being that greatest version of yourself. And then if you choose those gifts, choose those activations, and to bring it outward, then that's your choice. But if we all honor that, then we wouldn't have to bring it too much outward, because we all honored it. You know what I mean?
But that being said, too, so this is Anne-Marie talking right now, but so you have a feeling, when you feel like that's what you want to do, I'm talking to Dawn specifically, like you want to bring, you have a greater purpose. You can feel it inside, right? And so that is also cellular memory, cellular understanding. Exactly. And so however that looks, and that's up to you, but that desire is absolutely relevant. Now they're going to start taking over. You came in here with a blueprint, with an agenda, with a contract, with a plan. When you are incarnated, you have, we shall say, if you can equate it to, for example, a program, a computer program, you have already written it. So there is something inside of you that has the memory of what was written in your script, so to speak. And so these are the pushes forward. And so what happens then, when you feel something so intensely within yourself, that is your memory coming forward. Does this make sense?
I got a question. So let's assume that all that is true. And let's assume that you have something more to teach. This is what I think I learned by watching that movie. And the bottom line is, a lot of things that we've been taught, a lot of things that we've been shown, allegedly, aren't true. And then the bottom line here is, like the other movie says, can you handle the truth? Do you want to know the truth? And then once you answer that question, to teach somebody what you now have accepted, the fear of not being accepted because you know a truth and you're trying to give it to someone else. How do you do that?
So are you asking if I believe something?
No, I'm saying I believe exactly everything you're saying, 100%. And I've come to the conclusion that I've been lied to a lot. A lot. The amount of lies that I've been led to believe are so plentiful.
Right.
And even deeper research past the movie has shown me. So how am I supposed to explain that to others who unfortunately don't see it that way, without the fear of being what's the word? Exercised? Pushed out of the society? Ostracized. That's even a better word. How do you do that? And if you know you're going to be ostracized, you're not going to do it.
It's courage. It's courage. I mean, look at me. Dude, this is not easy. I'm just telling you.
Yeah, gotta be who you are.
Like, when you have something, for example, we'll use Anne-Marie as an example. She has so much, we will say she has had to overcome her self-consciousness and the fact that she sometimes feels like she is not valid in human society. She is not accepted. She is a freak of nature. And so it is a choice for her, as we were saying, it is a choice for you to use your voice. We are not saying it is easy. We know it is not. But those of you who have the courage to do it will draw upon that courage and know that it is not without a cause that you feel what you feel. And it is for you to understand that courage trumps fear.
Yeah.
Does that answer your question?
100%.
Yeah.
I just wish that more people would understand that.
Well,
Sometimes it takes the not only the bravery, it's the willpower to say, you know what, this is what my purpose is, and step fully into it.
Yeah.
Or decide, you know what, I'll take a pass. Free will.
yeah.
Well, so many people will take the pass because they say, well, I spend time teaching the truth. But then you go to the movies and you pay money to hear somebody else hear the truth. It's so ironic. You know the truth. You feel the truth. You're that individual. And yet you don't take advantage
Well, what do you
of
feel the
fact
truth is?
that I've been lied to.
Yeah.
Okay.
That maybe we are more than we say we are.
As human beings, you mean?
Absolutely are.
You can call it whatever you want.
As physical beings on this earth?
I don't know what we are anymore. It doesn't.
Okay.
To me,
I don't either, Freddie.
To me, but does it make a difference what I am?
No.
Or does it make a difference that we can't seem to live on a planet together? You know, and I've said this a million times, we learned nothing from COVID. That separated us. We still have learned nothing. We take life like such a grain of salt. It doesn't make a difference anymore. So how in the world can I expect somebody else to understand my truth? And it's for me, it isn't fear because, you know, I really don't care. And I say the things that I say, and people sort of look at me and they laugh or they don't laugh. But that's okay, because I've always, from a different drum. And I spoke to my sister. She says, you know, I've been watching what you're doing, and you're just that different. So you are that different. The question is, do we want to know the truth? Can you handle the truth? That was another movie, wasn't it?
A Few Good Men. Few Good
A
Men.
Few Good Men, right? So you come along.
So
You just got to keep doing it.
Exactly. So I would say for those of us who decide to do it, it's like we don't know life any other way. I used to be in the pharmacy. I cannot see myself behind a counter. I have to do what I do and help people, but in a different way. And this is how I choose to do it. This is, to Anne-Marie's point, this has not been easy, but once I've stepped into it, I don't know any other way of being. So yes, to your point, I was pretty upset when I found out that we had been lied to and the amount of lies. So we're not asking people to teach, but at least to stand firm in what your experience is, because then that also gives the courage for somebody else to say, you know what? I've had these experiences too. It opens up that dialogue. So I'm with you to a certain extent. We're kind of flunking the test as being humans, but there's a big swath as well who are accelerating, and they are kind of, I don't want to say taking themselves out of society, but these are the ones that are intentional societies where they're growing their own food or they're doing these types of things. So they're making their own society within the society that's here that doesn't work for them anymore.
You know, I want to add a piece to that also, because, you know, Freddie, you were saying, you know, how do we teach the others? And again, coming from a teacher, the one hard lesson I had to learn over the past, 5 to 10 years is you can never force your agenda on another. You have to know who you are, love and accept who you are, embrace that and be that. And when you do that, and then you could share what your thoughts or whatever, but you can't shove it down somebody else's throat. And when you live it, then that alone gives others the courage to live it as well. And I think, you're saying we as humanity, we're failing and we don't believe. I don't know who you're speaking for, but you're sitting in a room with people that don't fall under that umbrella.
1,000.
There are many who believe the falsehoods. There are many who aren't ready to embrace themselves. There are many, but there are also many of us who have stepped into our role, into our purpose, embraced it, are bringing it to the world, shining our light, and people are going, hey, me too, me too. And those are the activations I was talking about when I first opened the show, or the segment.
And that's what we're looking for.
Okay, then I guess we shall see.
Well,
Yeah.
it's a lot of things to ponder. We're going to take a commercial break. We have a remote interview coming back with a segment called New Voters, Giovanni Rao, and she created a great platform, a foundation to get the young voters, the 18 to 24-year-old niche, involved and activated, as you would say, and involved in humankind and what it means for the next generation to get the government where they want it to go. So more to come with that, and then we'll come back to the conversation. More to come. We'll be right back.